Good morning. It's WKRK. Today is the 23rd day of November. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, like later on this week. Time certainly is flying by. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
We got a lot to talk about this morning. Well, one of the things, just Thanksgiving being right here. A lot of folks traveling either to their family or coming into Murphy for family, and hopefully finding a lot to be thankful for.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
We sure do.
Whenever you think things are bad and things are going around you bad, you can just look around. You can always find somebody that's worse off than you are. So be thankful for what you have and all the good things that's going on in your life.
All right. One of the things we do want to touch on is a bad situation that happened this morning, and you have some information to pass on about a house fire that claimed a couple of lives.
Yeah, we got notified this morning, roughly between 5 and 5:30 a.m. this morning, of a house fire in the Andrews community, starting up Junaluska there on, I believe it was Pine Drive. And in that house fire, there were some fatalities that occurred there, and we just want to send our prayers out to the family that was involved in that. And it was a tragic incident that happened up there. It appears that it's preliminary, of course, but it appears that there was a kitchen fire that occurred where two people lost their lives in the home, and the third one escaped through breaking a window of getting out of the back bedroom. And so, tragedy is always bad, but when it occurs on a holiday week, that seems to make it a little bit worse because of being reminded year after year when that particular holiday comes up of what happened. So we just want to send our heartfelt prayers out to the people that was involved in that.
Right. And right now it is under investigation, and a lot of details can't be released right now. And we posted that on our Facebook page as well, that right now details are limited, and want to make sure to get everything right before the information
we'll be releasing some more press releases here shortly about the things that occurred up there this morning. And we just want to encourage people to be patient about that, and know that a lot of people already know about it. You can check social media and see all kind of conversations and things going on. But also, I just like to remind people, we remind you every time we have something like this happens. Be careful what you post and what you say on social media. I know a lot of people have good intentions about the things they put on there, but from what we found from my experience is most of the time when things are posted on social media, especially quickly after an incident occurs, usually it's false information or misleading information. So just be careful about what you repeat or what's been put on there. And also be mindful of the people that's involved, the families that's involved in that, because I know a lot of times people are trying just to get the word out, maybe get prayer chains started and things of that nature, and we certainly understand that, and it's okay. But just be mindful about putting out information that you may have heard on the street or overheard, because sometimes family members are not contacted yet and may not know what's going on at that residence, and it's bad for families to flip on Facebook or Twitter or some of these things and just be browsing and read that their family member had died or something going on there. So, like I say, just once again, just be mindful of what you do and how you act on those social media sites.
All right. And, before the situation, I even learned about the situation, one of the topics I was going to ask today about, since the winter, like we had 21 degrees for our lows this morning, and usually every winter we do see a lot of house fires, and just ways to prevent or what to check to make sure that your heating system is okay, how to prevent house fires in the winter.
That was my first question when I got the call this morning. My first question was, did they heat with wood? Because that's what I kind of expected it to happen with it being a real cold morning this morning. But that does not appear to be what happened up there this morning. But just for those safety prevention tips, we just need to remind people of a few things. One life-saving device that every home needs and needs to be updated is to be sure you have smoke detectors. Be sure you have those batteries checked, and some homes have them hardwired within the home. Test them periodically, especially throughout the winter, every couple of weeks. Be sure and check those smoke detectors and make sure they're audible, that you can hear them, because just those going off and just waking you up can give you a precious few seconds to escape. Not just the incident this morning, but in other instances where people's escaped from homes. We have found the fact of that they may not make it out of their normal escape routes, be awakened for some reason, not able to make it out their normal escape routes and have to break out a window or go out an alternate way to get out. Where if they were asleep or incapacitated in some way, just a few seconds could be the difference between being able to get out of that place and living or suffocating and dying. So the first thing that people need to make sure their smoke detectors are up and working.
Right.
The other thing is to make sure, like especially in your kitchens, around wood heaters, things of that nature, to make sure you have an adequate fire extinguisher to take care of those different types of fires. If you've got a kitchen fire extinguisher, make sure it's one that's rated for kitchen and for grease fires and things of that nature, because they all have different things in them to put fires out, and sometimes you can make matters worse. I know, like in grease fires in the kitchen, you don't want to throw water on that because you spread the fire. And so, be sure that you have fire extinguishers available. If you don't have fire extinguishers, be sure if you're cooking meals and things of that nature, you have other things available like salt, flour, things of that nature that can smother a fire out. So
I think Mom always kept a thing of baking soda.
Right, baking soda is a good one, So and salt is very good about putting a fire out. A lot of people don't realize that, but I know a lot of people keep big containers of salt near their stove. So if you have a grease fire, they can cover it up with that salt or baking soda or whatever you may have. But ultimately, it's best to have a fire extinguisher if you have that. If you don't have one, they can be purchased relatively cheap, and go to Lowe's or Walmart, places like that, and you can find one relatively cheap for your kitchen and home use. So that's the main things. Be sure, like if you're wood heating, be sure to keep your flues and chimneys cleaned out. That's one of the major causes of fire when you're wood heating. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people talking about getting their stove too hot. That will cause a fire if you don't have a base to put your stove on, either a rock base or some type of fireproof base, brick or some other substance to keep that base from heating up too hot. But most chimney fires or most wood heater fires is because of chimney fires. It's not because the heater is too hot. It's because the flue catches on fire, the creosote burns and falls back on the roof and starts the fire from the outside. That's where a lot of that starts from. So be sure your chimneys are cleaned out and the flues are cleaned out before you build your winter fires this winter, and that way you might save your home.
All right. And if you have small children, you're talking about an emergency escape route.
Right.
It's probably, the kids aren't always thinking about, what the things that could go wrong.
Right.
A lot of adults don't either.
Yeah.
But it's always good to have a family meeting and just kind of say, okay, if this way is blocked, then how else can we get out of the house quickly?
When our children were small growing up, they're basically grown now. We still have one son that's living at home, but everybody else is out of the house and in college now. But, what we always told our kids growing up was we did have those family meetings, and we actually went through scenarios. Mm-hmm. If you're in your room and you can't get out, if there's smoke, how are you going to get out? And so, like my daughter's bed was right beside a window. And so she'd say, get out the window. And I'd say, well, how are you going to get out that window? So we'd start identifying things in the bedroom, whether it's trophies or other things that you could throw through the window to break them,
right?
To be sure that you could get out of that room. So even when your kids are small, when they're 4, 5, 6 years old, have these conversations with them about how to get out of that house. And how the importance of getting out of the house and not hiding. A lot of small kids, when they get scared, they want to hide. They get under their bed or cover their heads up with the covers and things of that nature. So we need to make sure that if you have small children, to have that conversation with them, how important it is to get out of the house. Now, the second part of that is on our meetings that we had when our children were growing up, was once you get out of the house, where are you going to go? Mm-hmm. So identify some place near your house where there is a reunification site, where if you do go out separate windows, out separate places, where are you going to go to so we can reunite with each other again? And that does a couple different things. One is you don't have people running around going to neighbors and different places, and you may think they're still in the house. Mm-hmm. You can reunify real quick. But the other thing is also to where whether they're still in the house or not.
Right.
And then if you have 4 people that live in a home and only 3 come to the reunification site, then there's one missing and probably still in the house.
Right.
But the other thing, I want to mention on that real quick too, is for safety precaution, is even if you have a child still in the house or a family member still in the house, you cannot beat the smoke. You can't hold your breath long enough to go in there to find somebody to come back out. So if smoke is billowing out the door, if things are happening, do not go back into the house. Mm-hmm. Chances are, if it's that bad, that person is not going to be able to walk on their own anyway.
Right.
And so what happens more often than not is people panic because they have a child still in the house or a family member. They go back into the house, the smoke overtakes them, and then you start having multiple fatalities when that happens. So just remember, don't go back into the house. Once you're out, stay out of the house. Don't go back in.
And timing is very critical too. It's not a time to start trying to grab for valuables or anything like that. Maybe a cell phone so you can call 911 or call for help, or even find out if your family members are nearby in another house.
Right.
So that's the only thing I could think of grabbing.
Yeah, when you're in those situations, there's really not time to try thinking about getting valuables out of the house and things of that nature. Things can be replaced.
Yes.
The only thing really in your house other than people that can't be replaced probably is like pictures and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But even that, losing a picture is not worth losing your life over.
Absolutely.
Or losing the life of your spouse or your child or family member. So don't be going back in trying to retrieve those type of things. Everything else can be replaced. Right. Your TVs, your stereos, guns, whatever may be in there. Those have a monetary value that you can replace those things. And even though it may be granddad's shotgun, it's still not worth losing your life over.
Absolutely.
So please don't go back in the homes once you get yourself out.
All right. Yeah. Well, anybody who's been watching any kind of news channel here lately has pretty much the only story that's been on the news has been about the Syrian refugees. And I read last week that our governor in North Carolina had put a call out to the sheriffs of North Carolina,
right.
Asking about that. And I wanted to find out from you, because I know that probably has to be a struggle for you, because you have on one hand the concern about the safety of folks
right.
That live here, and then you also have on the other side human compassion.
Right.
So did the governor's office reach out to your office?
They did, through the Sheriff's Association, but the thing that people need to realize about this, and I've struggled with this myself and went back and forth on this, there's a few things that people need to take in consideration. One is when we talk about Christian morals and values and ethics and things of that nature, I think we do have an obligation to take care of one another. Mm-hmm. I think we do have an obligation of trying to take care of those who are in need and those who are hurting. And there's no reason why we shouldn't try to take care of those people. However, when you are in a government position, when you're elected to do a job, and when you're placed in a position, you have a responsibility to take care of the people under your purview. For me, in my position, my responsibility is to the citizens of Cherokee County. I'm responsible to take care of those people.
Right.
For the governor, it's for the people of the state of North Carolina. He's responsible for the people of this state and protecting these people. And so what a lot of times people don't understand is when you get elected to these positions and you get put in these positions, you place your hand on the Bible and you raise your right hand and you swear that you will protect these people. Mm-hmm. You swear that you will do these things. And so when these type of things happen, it's more than just your compassion. It's more than just your human feelings about this. It's about, what did I swear to do? What did I promise to do? And trying to uphold those things that you promised to do, and trying to be honest and trustworthy about your actions and what you feel like you should do. One thing also about this that we need to realize is the threat is much more serious with these refugees and stuff coming in than a lot of people want to acknowledge. Mm-hmm. There is credible information. There is things that we know, the government knows, and those people in authority know is credible, that these ISIS groups and other terrorist, Islamic, radical extremist groups mm-hmm. are infiltrating these refugees. They are looking for this as an avenue to get into the United States. So I'm not saying, and I don't think that the governor's saying or anybody else is an advocate for just turning your back on these people. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what they're saying. But I think that what our responsibilities are is finding a way to accomplish this, but do it in such a way that we just don't just open our borders up and just let anybody and everybody just walk in unchecked and not knowing their backgrounds or anything about them. I think that's what the concern is. And the concern is just basically just writing a blank check and just opening the borders up for whoever is in these groups just to walk in. And I think if we allow that, and what the governor's argument is, if we allow that to happen, we are intentionally putting our citizens in danger. Mm-hmm. We're intentionally putting our lives of our citizens in danger. Because look at the flip side of this. The flip side of this, what happens if we say, yeah, everybody come, we're open our borders, no checks, no anything, you just come on in, and then next week we have start having terrorist attacks in America. And we find that some of these people that was let in are doing terrorist attacks. Then on the flip side of that, the same people who's getting scrutinized for not wanting them to come in would be scrutinized for letting them come in. Why did you not check them? Why did you not vet them? Why did you let them come in their country? So it's basically in a catch-22 situation. You know, they kind of, you're in a bad situation if you do let them come in. You're kind of a bad situation if you don't let them come in. So I think what a lot of people are doing is they're erring on the side of caution and trying to be cautious about who they let in.
Right. How people do hear Syrian refugee and all before they hear any explanation of what a Syrian refugee. What is a refugee from Syria? How do they get into that position?
Well, the problem is a lot of these foreign countries, and Syria is one of these countries where you have these Islamic groups, terrorist Islamic groups, and people infiltrating their countries. And these Syrians, these people who are not everybody on these refugees, but for the most part, I would say the majority of them, are people who are trying to live peaceful lives or trying to just survive or just trying to live their lives. And now they have these terrorist groups who are coming into their countries and are forcing them out of their own countries. They have options, either stay there and live with the terrorist groups or flee, to run. And so when you talk about these refugees, what they're doing is they're fleeing from these groups and fleeing from their country. But the problem is, and like I say, going back, is the government kind of wants us to buy into this belief that all we're talking about is 3-year-olds and women. And that's simply not the case. I mean, it's simply not the truth about what's coming in. And so we have, if we're going to do this, and I think our country was founded on allowing people to come in, and refugees, if you will, from other countries, and being a land of the free and inviting immigrants and people to come in. And the problem is, I don't think nobody's saying we shouldn't do that.
Right.
I just think we have legal avenues to do that, and we have legal ways that people come to our country. And I think that's what a lot of these people are requesting. Come. We're not telling you stay out. You come, but let's do it in a legal way. Let's do it to where you're doing what you need to do to become a citizen of the United States.
All right.
Yeah.
What other options would there be if they did not come into our border? Where would the refugees end up going? There's other options?
Yeah, there's other countries. I mean, there's several Middle Eastern countries they could go to, the European countries and things of that nature. The United States is not the only place in the world they have to go to. And so those are other options coming up. But you see these other countries that are closing their borders and saying, no, you can't come here because they don't want the terrorists coming into their countries. And so, like I say, we're kind of in that situation to where your compassion and doing the right thing and doing what we've based on and inviting people, immigrants, to come to our country versus letting people that we know is going to come and try to hurt us and try to kill us. And so we've got to come up with a process, or the federal government does have to come up with a process of trying to vet these people to find out who are coming for the right reasons and who aren't.
And vet means just to thoroughly check out, do background checks.
Check out, yeah.
Okay.
And, there's different background ways and different ways they can do that. And, France, for example, when they had the terrorist attacks in Paris, they had already identified 250 or so terrorist cells that were there in France, around Paris. Mm-hmm. And so the question has to come up, well, if you knew all those terrorist cells were there, why did it take an attack to do something about it? So there's all kind of different processes that people have to work through and get through to find out what the best solution is. And unfortunately, these are one of these things that there is no black and white answer. Mm-hmm. There is no clear-cut answer to it. After
Paris, have we become on heightened alert since then?
Yeah, we've actually had reports of some terrorist plots here in the United States. I don't know if you've read it or not, but I know in Arizona they had stopped 7 or 8 people trying to sneak into the country that were Syrians under the refugee disguise with fake passports and different things trying to come across the border there in Arizona. So we're already seeing these things happening. Where people are trying to sneak into our country and, under this refugee ideology.
Right.
And so, like I say, it's just something we have to be careful of and we have to check out.
Even Atlanta over the weekend had the event that was being checked out.
Right.
I think the WWE event in Atlanta.
Several cities around the country have been on heightened alerts and heightened warnings about that, and we get bulletins through the sheriff's offices and different bulletins of people in the area to be looking for, whether they may be living in Charlotte, maybe living in Chattanooga, Atlanta, Knoxville, places like that. People that's in nearby places, just so we're aware that if we catch them traveling through our area or going different places, if we come across these people. That they're in the system, and we know that they're at least associated with terrorist cells. So we can get those bulletins, and they're good about sending that out to us, so local law enforcement knows about those things.
All right. A lot of our listeners may not know what the group Anonymous is. They're hackers that I'm guessing they're taking the law into their own hands, right. And they are. They have made a commitment to cut off the social communication of the terrorists,
right.
And hopefully disturb some of the financial flow of money. Can you inform our public what Anonymous is and how they are either doing good or bad in this situation?
I think you pretty well covered it. I mean, they're a group. Obviously by their name, Anonymous, nobody knows who they are. But they are computer hackers. There are people who kind of do this for a living, who kind of do it for hobbies and things of that nature. But they're actually concerned about the United States and concerned about terrorists invading our country. And I think you said it exactly right. This basically took matters into their own hands. They don't work for the government. They're not a government entity, but they've kind of a vigilante group that's kind of took those things in their own hands. On the onset of that, it sounds good. It sounded kind of like a Robin Hood mentality, of if the government's not going to do anything, we're going to do it ourselves. And on that onset, that sounds good, but there's a danger to that because we have rules and regulations and guidelines and laws for a reason. And what these people are doing is they're bypassing the rules, regulations,
right.
and laws. Trying to infiltrate these terrorist cells through social media, and like you say, trying to cut off their cash flows and things of that nature. So it's kind of hard to condone anything that that people's doing illegal activity when you have sworn yourself to uphold the law and abide by the law. It's kind of hard to condone other people who are not abiding by the law. I think their reasons and their actions seem to be pure. But their methods may be a little bit skewed. I'll put it that way.
All right. And while we were on the air, the press release came in from your office about the fire in Andrews. So I'll just go ahead and read that.
That'll be fine.
It says, we'll be posting this on our Facebook page and our website as well. It says, Sheriff Derek Palmer announced that the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office responded to a structure fire in which two of the occupants at 66 Pine Grove in Andrews, North Carolina, were found deceased. Shortly before 5 a.m. on November 23rd, that's today, Cherokee County Communications received a call from Lorinda Parker, a resident at 66 Pine Grove in Andrews, North Carolina, stating that the home was on fire and that there were two other occupants and that she was not able to get out. Parker then returned to a bedroom and broke out a window and escaped the burning residence. Valleytown Fire Department responded and requested additional assistance from the Murphy Fire Department. During the response to the fire, 78-year-old Loretta Parker and 59-year-old Teresa Parker were found deceased in the structure. The Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, assisted by a resident agent of the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, are conducting an investigation into the cause and origin of the fire. Initial findings would indicate that the fire appeared to have started in the kitchen where someone had been cooking. There were also indications that attempts had been made to put the fire out, which was unsuccessful. Sheriff Palmer stated, "I want to express our deepest sympathies during this time of loss. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and loved ones of the deceased. I also want to thank the Valleytown Fire Department, Murphy Fire Department, and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation and the Andrews Police Department for all the assistance in this very sad matter." All right. So, again, keep these families in your thoughts and prayers. Very sad news to start a week out on, especially Thanksgiving week.
It is, and I had the opportunity to go up and talk to some of the family today, and I talked to Miss Parker, also that escaped the fire this morning, and they are very sad. Their hearts are very heavy about the loss of their family members, and I've known this family for quite some time and known different members of the family. And, my heart does go out to them, does break for them. And like I say, it's sad in any situation. It's bad in any situation, but especially on a holiday week, it seems to make things a little bit more difficult and a little bit more sad during those times.
All right, Sheriff, I see our time has come and gone quickly. This is, I think, the fastest show we've had in
Probably
a while.
Has.
All right, anything you want to add before we close out?
No, I just want to tell everybody happy Thanksgiving and be safe, during this cold weather. One thing I do want to mention is, and just a personal thing, on this Sunday, I'll be preaching at Valleytown in Andrews. We'll be doing a baptismal service and the Lord's Supper up there on Sunday morning. So please come up and take part of that. If you're not attending church anywhere, we'd love for you to come be a part of that. And if you don't go to church at Valleytown Sunday, please go to church somewhere, because if this of all weeks is a good week to go to church and be thankful for what you have.
All right, Sheriff, thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's WKRK Radio, Murphy, North Carolina.